What would you do if a bear cub walked on over into your garden? Well, one family living in a Slovenian village got the chance to find out. This bear cub wandered into the family's garden, and when the family dog was about to alert them all, the bear quickly took some action. You won't believe how this crazy story turns out. It's no secret that brown bears can be downright scary. These bears can grow to be over 1,500 pounds and are a well-known carnivore. They are scattered all throughout North America, Asia, and Europe, and one bear, in particular, found himself wandering around Slovenia. Meet Meadow, a 3-month-old brown bear cub. Meadow was abandoned by his mother and had nowhere to go. He was all alone in the world and was looking for a place where he could find shelter. Meadow was walking around when he stumbled across a Slovenian private. Meadow, of course, had no idea that the property belonged to anyone. All he could tell was that there was a garden that he wanted to be in. Meadow decided to settle in and make himself home in the garden. The garden, however, belonged to the Loger family, and they had no idea that there was a new guest making himself at home in their yard. That was until someone noticed him. The Loger family happens to have a pretty huge family dog named Matevs. The dog is a Rottweiler and works hard to make sure that the family stays protected at all costs. Matevs was the first to spot the little brown bear. Matevs was heading out into the yard to run around like he normally would. At first, there was nothing really out of the ordinary in the yard. That was until the Rottweiler noticed an uninvited visitor. The Rottweiler soon made eye contact with Meadow, and the two stared each other down. They weren't too far away from one another when Matevs was about to open his mouth to bark and alert his family. Then Meadow quickly jumped into action. In order to show the dog that he meant so harm, Meadow quickly went over to hug him. The hug seemed to calm Matevs down, but the dog still lets out a loud enough yelp to show that something was going on. The family then went outside to see what all the commotion was. The Loger family went outside and were shocked to see the baby bear there, hugging their dog. From what they could tell, the bear seemed harmless and sweet. It was also apparent that the bear was orphaned. The family was faced with a serious dilemma. They couldn't possibly leave this poor baby bear all alone to fend for itself. So the family made a group decision that would change their lives and Meadow's life forever. The Loger family decided that they would adopt Meadow and keep him as their own. They named him Meadow Streko, Lucky the Bear, and from that point on Meadow would be part of the family. It wasn't long before he settled in nicely. It didn't take much time for Meadow to warm up to the family. Soon enough, he was play fighting with his adoptive father and rolling around in the grass in the backyard. Life was looking pretty swell for this young brown bear. Eventually, the family began to petition for permission to build an enclosure on their land. That way, Meadow can roam around freely and live with them without problem. However, the situation hasn't been looking too good for them. So far, the Loger's request has not been taken seriously. The country's environment inspectors and vets have stated that building an enclosure for the bear would be far too dangerous. Instead, they have offered another solution that the family finds unacceptable. The government instead has been urging the family to send Meadow to an animal shelter where they feel he will be properly looked after. However, the family has grown far too attached to Meadow to let him go without a fight. Eventually, though, the Logers realized that Meadow was getting too big. Eventually, the family realized that they had to do what was best for Meadow. They agreed to send him off to an animal shelter where he would be looked after. However, the plans didn't go quite the way it was intended to. Right before Meadow could be sent off to the shelter, he went missing. Someone had apparently come in and stolen him. Everyone was shocked and went looking for him. Eventually, Meadow was found, and he was in great shape. Everyone was relieved and happy that he would be going to a better place. Meadow was then brought to the animal shelter. Now Meadow is living out his life in a bear sanctuary. He is enjoying being around other bears like him, and his family can come and see him whenever they like. Now he has all the space to move around and enjoy his life. The Loger family will never forget little Meadow and how he impacted their lives with his sweet attitude. Matevs also will never forget the hug he received the first time the two met.
Similar to this story, we have another one.
Homeless man heroically runs into burning apartment and saves trapped kids. A 36-year-old homeless man selflessly walked into a burning building to save two trapped children. The fire started in the kitchen and threatened to take the lives of a 3-year-old and 10-month-old baby. Las Vegas Fire and Rescue alerted the media about the amazing story. It all started as a cooking fire. It was a normal December day in Las Vegas when a grease fire broke out in an apartment building at 2612 Mesquite Avenue. There were two children in the home. Their mother dropped them off at their grandfather's, and while he was cooking chicken for them, the stove burst into flames. The grandfather had to jump through a window to get outside. The kitchen was in the rear of the apartment, and the grandfather was not able to get back inside to the front, where the children were playing. As this was unfolding, Neville Angelo was heading down the street at Bonanza and Eastern, just around the corner from the apartment building. He could hear children crying and screaming for help. He immediately followed the sound of the pleading. As he turned the corner, his eyes started to burn and he smelled the thick, dark smoke that was permeating the air. The next thing he saw was a group of neighbors outside. They were very upset, and he soon learned that they believed two children were stuck inside. Anneville continued to walk toward the burning building. He could just see the kids through the window. At 10 months and 3 years old, they were helpless. "I went to the door and saw the babies, so I jumped the fence," he told KSNV. Anneville jumped into action, literally leaping over the locked fence. Firefighters were still not on the scene, so Anneville ran toward the main door. Although it was locked with a deadbolt, Anneville tugged on the door until the lock gave way. The 3-year-old girl immediately ran to Anneville when he went through the door. She clung to his waist, begging for help. He then saw the 10-month-old's leg through the smoky haze. He grabbed the little boy into his arms. According to Anneville, he was acting on instinct. "I wrapped up the babies and pulled them out. I knew I had to get them out." The neighbors were blown away with his bravery, and the grandfather was incredibly grateful. If Anneville hadn't acted, the children may not have made it. When firefighters got on the scene, they put out the fire. The damage estimate to the building is $50,000, but thankfully, no one was seriously injured. The children were treated for smoke inhalation and released. According to Las Vegas Fire Rescue, Anneville is a true hero. Tim Szymanski, a spokesman for Las Vegas Fire Rescue, said he saved lives that day. "It's obvious if this person hadn't been there, these children could have been burned or may have been killed in the fire." About half of all house fires start in the kitchen each year. Winter is the most common time for fires, particularly December through February. Most house fires start with a stove, fireplace, or heater. Las Vegas Fire Rescue made sure to credit Anneville for the rescue. In a tweet dated December 2, 2017, they wrote, "Right place/right time. Anneville Angel 036, currently homeless in Las Vegas, saw smoke coming from the front door of an apartment, heard two kids crying. With bare hands pulled locked security door open and brought both kids out from the inferno inside.